So why exactly is silver underperforming right now? I mean, here we have charts of gold and silver, and gold is looking pretty okay today. It's down 0.8%, but silver's down 1.60%, and it's gone pretty much straight down. Gold is trying to find its way back up. And honestly, this environment that we're in lends itself more to gold performing a bit better than silver in the near term. Again, I want to stress that this is near term that I'm talking about. And if you take a look at the price action, closing prices over the course of the last several days and couple of weeks, going up until about July 15th. Today is July 16th, so I don't want to count that. It's not a closing price. But let's go back to June 29th here. And as we'll see, closing price is right here. And this is the volume. We were at a low here of 1,762. And ever since then, of course, with some oscillation here and there, we've just been trickling back up to have a closing price from yesterday of 1,828.40. So we've just been on an uptrend here with gold. If we take a look at silver, on the other hand, we've been on an uptrend in closing prices. I mean, take a look. We were down at a closing price of $25.87. And on the 15th, we ended at $26.38. So still an uptrend, but we had to really fight to get up there. I mean, we went up to $26.48. Then we went back down to $25.97. Now we're going back up a little bit. But the volume here at $25.97 was 175. The volume here at 26.25 and 26.38 is at 14. So it's not as heavy as the some of these selling pressures. So right now, the environment looks a little bit more favorable for the gold price. And if we scroll down here, we can take a look at some of these indicators to see where we stand with both assets. So here we have the Bollinger Bands, we have the we have the MACD below it, and we have the RSI below that. And if you take a look, the Bollinger Bands are starting to close in a little bit here on silver. Whereas yesterday or the day before, I was looking at it and it was starting to look like it was expanding a bit. But it looks like now we're starting to get into a thin channel here where there will be less room for volatility for the price action for silver until it opens back up again, which makes a lot of sense here since it looks like we hit fair value in the RSI, and now we're kind of reverting back down. And it looks like we hit a bit of a high here for the silver price yesterday in the MACD, in the histogram, as you can see in the green. And now it looks like we might be coming back down from that high. So perhaps we might be seeing some exhaustion here in the price of silver in the near term. Again, this is not long term, this is near term. Whereas for gold, we're still seeing some of that expression, but it's not as aggressive as we see it in silver. As you can see, this is the representation of those closing prices that I was talking about. So a lot stronger here in gold. And again, hugging the upper band of the Bollinger Bands. It's having a down day today, and you can see that reflected here in this lighter green histogram. You can see it reflected here with the RSI coming down. But as you can see easily, there is much more momentum here in the RSI for gold than there was for silver as it's coming down from its RSI high. So there's a lot more strength here. You may be wondering why. Well, we did get the United States Consumer Sentiment Index numbers today. And take a look what the University of Michigan, who runs this, had to say. They said consumer sentiment for the U.S. dropped to a 5-month low of 80.8 in July 2021 from 85.5 in the previous month, and missing market expectations of 86.5. So not only was this a miss, this was a huge miss. And we'll talk a lot more about why that is later on today in another episode where I'll be talking a bit more about the Fed and inflation and their updates, it seems like, to what they're calling transitory inflation. But let's see what else they have to say. Missing market expectations, a preliminary estimate showed the decline in morale was largely due to less favorable prospects for the national economy. So you can just take a look here at this trend. We were edging up. In May, we're at 82.9. In June, we're at 85.5. And they're expecting us to continue going up to 86.5. And we just dropped to 80.8. So we're seeing that drop in this preliminary reading for the consumer sentiment in July, mainly due to the fact that we aren't seeing the type of, or we are seeing more of these Delta cases popping up. And it's really starting to spook the markets as far as what we might start or our prospects for economic recovery as we thought before all this stuff started to happen. So again, I think this is all temporary. I don't think the Delta variant will, have that much of a grip on U.S. life, at least in countries that are, somewhat protected. But again, this is also a global issue, because if this is spreading to countries that aren't that protected, then what we might start seeing is, negative effects hurting the Western world as well, not just the global South, which is where we're seeing a lot of the unfortunate deaths and high cases occurring. So that might be spooking the markets as far as the prospects for economic recovery. But again, I think this is something that, may be, somewhat temporary here as far as growth, affecting the growth story here. So in times when there's uncertainty, obviously you're going to expect gold to perform a little bit better than its counterpart, silver, who is not doing too well today, currently down at $25.85. Now, if you just want to have a quick note, gold and silver both have a negative, or actually I won't really talk about that at the moment, but just generally, this is what we're looking at today. Let me know what you think about the prices and the prospects for prices.